all of us are eagerly waiting for a signing off session of this panel. I'm very happy to introduce Shri Ashok Kumarji, who is an ITS officer of 1993 batch and presently working as a DDG in the Department of Telecommunication, Government of India. His experience includes planning, designing, procurement, installation, commissioning, operation and maintenance of the mobile telecom technologies. He's an expert in the field of 5G and other telecom technologies. He's a vice chair of the study group 16 of the ITU. He was also on deputation to UIDAI, the Aadhaar project, for 7 years. And we know him as a YouTuber, as I said earlier, so I'm equally eager to listen to him. Over to you, sir.
So thank you, Jeevanji. So till now we heard from eminent speakers. So starting with Mr. Jeevan himself, who talked about Geo perspective of Open RAN. It was heartening to know that the RAN which is developed by Geo itself is compliant to ORAN Alliance interfaces. So very a good thing which Geo has done. We heard from Vikalp about the RIC part. So Mavenir is one of the pioneer in Open RAN, and he talked about the RIC component. Then we had a presentation from Mr. Chiba from VIB about the tools and testers which are required for Open RAN testing. And then we had Mr. Mahesh from Rhodes. So Rhodes is also into test and measuring equipment. So on Open RAN also a lot of test suite they have. So we had a mix of presentation including operator perspective, test and measuring instrument perspective, and also from the OEM side. So my perspective of presentation is on the government initiative, that what all government has been doing, particularly Department of Telecom, in respect of overall telecom field and in particular Open RAN. So I'll take you to long back in 2017 when DOT had constituted a forum called High Level Forum just to create vision and framework for India, 5G in India, and also the action plans. This was actually followed by, if you recall, ITU had set its vision and framework about 5G, IMT 2020, in year 2015. And later on in 2017, they came out with the key performance requirement of 5G to support those vision or the usage scenario. So along with that, so it was for the first time that Indian government or Department of Telecom started thinking about what technology which is coming and what at all is required to be done as a preparation. So this, what you see on your screen is a clip of that report. So this report talked about how much spectrum you require for 5G in our country. So as we know that in 5G you need low band, you need mid band, you also need millimeter wave to actually reap benefit of 5G and also roll out all the use cases or usage scenario which 5G can offer. It is not like 2G or 3G or 4G which was only meant for our smartphones or mobile phones or we humans, but we had to think about how machine-to-machine communication will take place. One of the, like what this particular report said is 5G would contribute an economic benefit of 1 trillion by 2035 in India. Like they had some vision that it will actually transform. It will be used in every sector of economy. The use cases will be there, right? So with this, later on, a lot of actions were taken by DOT, Department of Telecom, Government of India to proliferate, including auction of spectrum and also a lot many other reforms, which I'll talk about. So with those efforts and effort of our operators in India, actually we witnessed fastest rollout of 5G network, like very, very faster rate we deployed base stations. And today, if I'm not wrong, more than 700 plus districts, 8,000 plus towns are actually covered on 5G. So we have almost, last month figure is about 4.2 lakh BTSs we have rolled out, and estimated number of customers are about 15 crore. So one point which I want to make here is, like, if you see the overall number of customers in India, and so it's almost 135, 140 crore mobile customers we have. So we only have 15 to 16% our customers as 5G customers. So although we have a good coverage, but in terms of customers we are less. So that really mean that the handset, the 5G handset which is coming to our market, may not be affordable to many of the middle class and other fellows, and they are not able to upgrade. I mean, once the cheaper devices comes to our country, I think the number in terms of customers will actually increase onto 5G. Okay, so everyone has talked about that why Open RAN. So everyone, the dream of Open RAN and why Open RAN. So it is estimated that in our country, put together all the operators are expected to invest about 2 lakh crores of Indian rupees onto the network which they are going to build. And all operators would agree with me that 70 to 80% of the capex and also OPEX goes into the RAN part, radio access network part. Core and all is mostly centralized, and it's a one-time cost or very, very incremental cost, but the cost on RAN side is very, very high. So here comes, in case whatever dream we hear about that, if the Open RAN can help and bring down the cost, so that would be like all our operators would actually buy a Open RAN compliant technology and put into that network. So that dream has to be ensured by the OEMs of Open RAN. Okay, so what are the different reform which DOT did after that HLF report? So one of the reform was that it was for the first time that the spectrum required by operators to roll out 5G was actually acquired by them through this auction. So it was a transparent spectrum auction. So for example, to roll out 5G, what operators need is about 100 megahertz of mid-band spectrum, 1020 megahertz of low band, and about 600, 800 megahertz of the spectrum in the millimeter wave, right? In fact, in our country, the two operators, Jio and Airtel, who are the major one, actually acquired 100 megahertz in mid-band, 20 megahertz in lower side of the band, and also about 1200 megahertz onto the millimeter wave side. And actually they have rolled it out. So if you look at the rollout which Airtel, Jio, they have done, so they have actually used millimeter wave and 78 band which they have acquired. And I think Jio has used 700 megahertz band for deeper coverage, and also maybe later on IoT use cases they are going to launch in our country. Similarly, maybe Airtel had reused their 900 and other lower side of the band along with the mid band. So in the part of reform, what DOT has done away is now there is no usage charge. So we call it SUC earlier. Now in the new spectrum which operators have acquired, there is a zero spectrum usage charges. And also if you look at other aspects of that auction, there was no requirement of financial bank guarantee, or there was no mandatory upfront payment. Like you can pay those spectrum auction charges over a period of say 20 years, depending upon how you want to do that. And also DOT has actually given on a provisional basis about 2 carriers of 250 megahertz band in the E band, because as we heard that not all base stations are fiberized today, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of capex to do that. So till that time, you can use some E-band radio to connect to your 5G base stations. So those carriers are allotted to operators. And a lot of reform has come into right of way. Right of way application, if you recall few years back, some of the application used to take even years. Now, most of average time of getting the clearance from government entity has reduced to few days. Like some of the clearances you are receiving in 5 days, 6 days. Average is, I think, about 9 days. These all reforms have actually added to accelerate the 5G rollout in our country. Okay. So again, for the cost of repetition, what is Open RAN again? In my words, how do I see an Open RAN? So if you recall, in traditional 4G or 3G, we have antenna, and along with that we have RF unit, we call it RU. Onto the base of the tower, we have some equipment which is called baseband unit, which actually handles all the radio interface protocols. So basically, the interface between BBU and your RU, in fact, that is also an open interface called CPRI, but the implementation is proprietary. Not only that, if you talk about, say, 4G, you have an interface called X2, which is used to connect the next neighboring E node B so that smooth handover is possible. So, and this is a 3GPP standard. In spite of X2 interface being an open interface, I mean, you cannot roam handoff from a Nokia BTS to Ericsson BTS because it's a proprietary implementation. So what I'm trying to say that only having open interface in the standard or in the specification will not help unless all the stakeholders are actually following that, testing that, and making it work, right? So open interface is very, very important. Next, what is happening is like now we have a specialized hardware and a specialized software. So it's possible to have a specialized hardware and a specialized software. So we are able to decouple hardware and software. For example, if you have a E node B of, say, Nokia, Ericsson, or any established vendor, it's a purpose-built hardware and a proprietary software, right? But in case of a Open RAN concept, you can have a off-the-shelf hardware, and on top of that, you can have BBU software, right? And the interface towards RU can become an open interface, like we have to ensure. So that becomes Open RAN. So one is the disaggregation of hardware and software. Later on, if you look at standards being worked upon by different bodies like 3GPP or ORAN Alliance or Small Cell Forum, so they have disaggregated this BBU into smaller component called RU, DU, and CU for various type of flexibility and QoS requirement and other requirement in the network. So what is actually required is that the interfaces between these units are open and interoperable. So if that we are able to make, so we have kind of a Open RAN readily available. In addition, this ORAN Alliance has actually come out with a standard called RIC, which I think my friend from Avenir talked about. And also, since you have a virtualized deployment of these CU and DU, you can manage, you can have a MANO kind of environment, right? So ORAN also, ORAN Alliance have also worked upon the MANO management and orchestration aspect of the radio part. Okay, so a little bit of technical thing. I think I have 2 minutes. Let me try and finish. If you look at the 3GPP architecture, so what you have is a monolithic G node B, we call it G node B. So you can deploy the entire radio as a monolithic G node B. That means a BBU, all RU, DU, CU can be in a single box. The standard also say that we can break this into DU and CU. On the right side, what you see that G node B is kind of done into 2 parts, CU and DU, and there is an open interface called F1, right? So what we are trying to do here is that some of the BBU protocols like RLC, MAC, physical and RF is going to kind of a DU, and higher layer like PDCP, SDAP, etc. is with CU. So that's the split which we are talking about when we are talking about 3GPP RAN specification, right? 3GPP has further talked about, I think I'm running out of time, I need 2-3 more minutes, Jivan, in case you can allow me. So 3GPP has talked about now disaggregating or splitting the CU part into the control plane and also the user plane, a separate one, and there also they have talked about open interface E1. So what I'm trying to say here that 3GPP itself has given you all the ingredient for an open RAN, right? So in case we are able to follow all the standards which 3GPP itself has given, we have all the benefit of open RAN. Even our traditional like suppliers, if we enforce them to follow all these standards in a really open way, I can have a mix and match of different OEM equipment into my network. We have to, as an operator, we have to actually enforce. So what Open RAN says that they have actually split further. DU, CU, now they have RU, DU and CU. So what they have done actually is like the physical layer, higher part of the physical layer they have put along with the RU, and then middle, whatever was there in the DU balance and the CU, right? So it's, and that's why we call it 7.2 split, because if you see the various split levels, like for example, 3GPP was kind of option 2, split 2, and ORAN has given you option 7, right side you can see the lower part of physical layer going to the RU. So that's why they call it 7.2 split. What are the other splits we are talking about? If you look at, there is another forum called small cell forum, which mainly talking about the small cell. So they are talking about splitting at 6, option 6, wherein physical layer is along with RU and MAC layer is going towards DU. So they have introduced an interface called FAPI and NFAPI between physical layer and MAC layer. So that is option 6 or split 6, which small cell forum talks about. So it's about breaking down these air interface protocols here and there, and you have a different splits. So splits are, and since all these physical MAC layer and etc., they have become some sort of software. So it's possible that these splits can be done as per the requirement. Okay, so I'll not talk about the ORAN Alliance Open RAN, which we have already talked. So what is the DOT support which we are trying to make to proliferate Open RAN ecosystem as of now? In the morning, some of these aspects are talked about. The first thing is that it was for the first time that DOT, as part of that HLF report, had funded our 8 institutions which you see on your screen right side to build a 5G test bed, right? And what this test bed have is the end-to-end all component, including CPE, RAN, RAN side also we have a MIMO concept and the core part. And the RAN which they have developed is ORAN compliant RAN, and also they have a FAPI and NFAPI interface, right? And this particular test bed is open to all the startup, all the SME. If you have built up some component of 5G or use cases, you can go to IIT Madras campus, you can book that particular and test your product. So that's one of the aspect which DOT has done. And then through CDOT, there are 5G Open RAN consortium which CEO CDOT in the morning talked about. In fact, he has got lot many alliances in the name of India 5G Alliance, which includes 2 Open RAN consortiums. And these are the vendors if you see on the right side. And any new vendor can also join that. So in this aspect, I would be requesting Geo that since you also have a ORAN product, in case you can facilitate your RAN product also into this consortium so that other product can be tested along with your product, if that could be a kind of a contribution In addition, CDOT has procured lot many tools and testers related to ORAN, and since we have roads representative here and also VIB representative, so what I would request that, yes, you are into market, you are into business, but can you set up a lab or RAN test equipment lab wherein some access, free access you can provide to a startup. I mean, something if you can work with, or maybe some of the tools and tester you can host at the CDOT premises so that our ecosystem partners are able to, because these tools and tester are very, very costly. If suppose if you have a developed a RU or CU, you cannot actually test it. Those equipments are costing 10 crore, 20 crore, 30 crore, which a startup cannot afford. So we need multiple labs, multiple tools and testers labs in our country so that our startups are able to test their product equipment. So we can help create some of the lab, maybe on a fee basis, a smaller fee basis, that will really help our country vision to actually go into that. The next initiative of the government is the setting up 100 5G lab. So I have been part of this, and some of the institutions have already got this particular lab. If you recall, the last IMC, our Prime Minister himself had actually allocated these labs to, and the supply has actually started. I think that by next 2-3 months, these institutions will have a 5G lab, and they can, actually it's very important that that our institutions start courses which are very, very practical, maybe on 5G, 6G and beyond, so that as an industry when you hire, graduates, engineering graduates from the college, they have some knowledge which you can straight away use, and this will really help in doing that. And also onto the research part, which this 100 5G lab would enable. So CDOT is also setting up ORAN test and integration lab. This is where I wanted help of VIB and also roads to pitch in, and at least maybe from your CSR fund you try to provide some of the additional equipment or tools which CDOT may not be having. Okay, so and the last slide I wanted to convey that as part of government initiative, we need to create market access for our startups, for our SME who are working onto the telecom field, particularly on ORAN, and a lot of efforts are on. In the morning we heard Naren Nath sir and also Upadhyaya sir. So be assured that we will have a kind of a bilateral arrangement with other countries so that your product can be deployed their side, and they would also like to have their product being deployed here. So with this, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And since lunch is waiting,